This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
Oh, fiddlesticks! What, Wilbur? We just got hit and I think my back is all been out of shape.
You gotta talk with those whippersnappers at the Advocates Law Firm. They're the best injury lawyers around.
What? Pipe down, Clarence! Abner's telling me about the lawyers and the advocates. So what happened to you, Abner?
I was walking across the street with the light when some young punk came screeching around the corner. I lost a toe.
What? Shut it, Clarence! If you get injured, the advocates get results.
AdvocatesLaw.com.
What's up? It's your boy, the Ted Smith. Thanks for listening to the Men's Room Daily Podcast. Want more? Check out the greatest podcast in all the land, The Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and listen to a brand new episode every Tuesday night.
The debauchery rolls on. You're listening to the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill. 99.9 KISW.
Podcast all the way. We'll sit and spin. We got 10 artists that never had a number one hit. The first time for a few emails from the men's room at KISW.com.
You've got mail. You've got mail.
Coming from our question, what did you or someone else completely forget about, guys? Ola Bacholas. In college, I was able to go on a architectural study tour to Norway. Stops in Barcelona and London. This was my first time flying to Europe, so I tried to be overly prepared. One item that kept coming up in my research was make sure my passport was current and email myself a scan of it in case I lost it. Yes. I get all packed up, make sure I had my blue sleeve passport, drove to Seattle area so I could wake up and jump on the plane at SeaTac in the morning. In the morning, did a quick check of everything once again and look at my tickets and get my passport. However, I could not find my passport. I dumped out my pack and sifted through everything. I then saw my checkbook and thought, why is that here? It had the blue sleeve as well. And a few hours from my flight, I realized I mistook my checkbook for my passport.
That's a problem.
I had forgotten my passport on the scanning bed of my printer. That is a 5-hour drive away. I called the airline to reschedule my flight. I drove to my college where I found it on my scanner, drove back to where Snoqualmie Pass was closed for 3 hours and barely made it to my flight on time. Fun trip with a now funny story. Keep rocking, guys. That from B-Dub.
Told you, the first time I flew to Mexico, there's a woman, our plane is boarding, there's a woman in front of us, and she's going back and forth with the gate attendant, and as I walk by, I just hear her saying, but my friend said I didn't need a passport. I just looked at my wife and said, when do you take your friend's advice for international travel, law, medical, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes don't count on your friends for that because your friend was wrong.
Really wrong. Really wrong.
It's like going to a rental car place and not having your license.
Oh, God, right. Yeah, not only that,
I've seen it.
Even if you're 18 years old, that doesn't mean you can necessarily run a car.
Right.
I think they have a higher age, I believe, too.
Right, it wasn't like the person didn't have them, but they didn't have it on them. And this was years ago. They're like, well, we can't rent you a car without a license.
You're renting a car.
Hello, gentlemen. I left for a Navy boot camp less than a month after graduating Franklin High School here in Seattle, 1988. About a year later, in a fresh quartermaster ship navigation on the USS Midway, I'm on watch on the bridge. As the junior quartermaster, my main task was to fill out the ship's deck log, basically writing down the office of the deck's orders and other pertinent information. I'd filled in a sheet and was writing in the date on a new one when I paused and thought, July 21st. What is it about July 20? Oh, God, that's my mom's birthday. About a week and a half later, when we finally pulled into port, I was able to call her. Cheers, guys. That from Sailor Jeff. I have been on the deck of the USS Midway.
Oh, it's what, San Diego?
Yeah, it's a great. It's one of those tours where you're like, this is awesome.
Right.
You're going to be touristy. You're going to go to another town. I always have a good. I've gone 3 times so far
to the Midway.
There's a Starbucks on the back. They have flight simulators.
You keep going to the Midway.
Yes.
What is it about the Midway? Like, you go to San Diego, man. Go to the Midway.
Like helicopters and planes on the deck.
Yeah.
You get to climb on the deck, and then you get to see all the quarters below.
Uh-huh.
And then in the actual hull, they have flight simulators.
All right.
They got a Starbucks.
How did you do on the flight simulators, Mr. I Could Land a Jumbo Jet?
Terrible. Terrible.
Okay.
Oh, I see. It's like a whole museum in there. You're not just like hanging out on a boat.
No, it actually is a very cool thing. And it's
like in Baltimore, I remember there was like a the Midway. But I mean, I remember in Baltimore there was like a submarine, but you just kind of walk through it.
It's still there.
Yeah.
It's still laying.
Guys, on to the birthdays. It's my coworker Jamie's birthday. The best dang engine dissembler our shop has ever seen. Bitches, can we get a bagel guy and the Dirty Germans turning Captain Crunch in his boat to the Love Boat? Liquor and whores, bitches, that from Elliot, Jeremy, and Rap Heel, I believe.
Love God or my father. Or
Rap
my
Heel?
thoughts.
I think that's a name. Oh, Raphael. God almighty. That's not how you spell Raphael.
Yeah, every time I get on the SS Guppy, of course it is a love boat, because that Captain Crunch is a freaky little man.
See, I'm impressed. You know, the Germans very much likes the Captain Crunch.
Yeah.
He comes over and lets us play with his crunch berries.
All of you magnificent bastards shouting out for me, Matt, since my family is lame, for my 40-second trip around the ball there. Can you give me a you like that? An andro penis, followed by the captain explaining his adventure sailing the Sea of Greybush. Thanks, fellas. That from Matt.
You like that? God. You like that?
Andro penis.
Oh, that's funny you bring up Greybush. It's the first time I looked under Miss Butterworth's apron and I thought, ooh, I should name a lake after this. And Greybush was born. She's since trimmed. Crunch Bears.
All right, guys, here we go. Happy, happy, happy birthday. Happy, happy, happy birthday. Happy, happy, happy birthday to you, to you, to you.
Bitchy.
Oh, you are me. Come on, button. This thing's got to be working.
Yas, the Dirty Germans, brought to you by Men's Room Original Sausage. Available through Uli's World Famous Sausage, mensroomlive.com, and other fine retailers. Schweinefleisch.
Yes, friends, it's time once again for Sit and Spin. Let's gather around the old radio and listen to some swellerific new music.
All right, Castle in the house.
What's up, boys?
In the
What's
house.
house?
Yeah. What's happening?
I thought I would grace you with my presence today.
That's
I know
nice.
it's a treat, always.
It is.
Yeah.
You're like the bit of honey you get on Halloween. It's not the worst, but we were hoping for better.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take
You're like the raisin,
from you.
the
That's
sun-made raisin box. Like, well, thank you.
I was thinking more like the worst toy in the bottom of a box of Cracker Jacks. You still like it.
You still like it.
Yeah.
You could have done better. You weren't kidding. It is Hawaiian shirt 2022.
It's the summer of the Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
So I tried
How
this.
many do you have?
I tried this a few years ago, and I felt like I was a little ahead of the curve on it.
That's what it
because
was.
I tend to be a little fashion forward, as
Yes.
you guys know.
Oh, definitely.
So I'm bringing it back around this year, and I feel like they're everywhere now. So this is actually going to be the summer of the Hawaiian shirt.
You're breaking out.
Yeah.
I have two
Fashion forward.
buddies that did it for a whole summer.
See?
Hawaiian shirt summers.
You've done everything to your house. That pool is so close.
Yeah.
That's the last thing that needs to happen.
Yeah, there's a pool, there's a pond. The pond would be good for
That
you.
way, when your basement floods, it'll smell like chlorine this time.
No, I redid the drainage in the house.
Exactly, right.
It shouldn't flood anymore.
I know, you're good to go.
It'll
You're
be
good
great.
to go.
But if it does, I've got the Hawaiian shirt and the pina coladas ready to go.
We,
We'll just hang out in the basement.
Our question today, Ryan, what did you or someone else completely forget about?
Oh, God.
Trying to remember the story exactly on. Was it you're boiling eggs? Was that what it was?
Oh yeah. So I put some eggs on to boil. I was going to make some hard boiled eggs, and then I put my shoes on and I went out for a run.
Okay,
and I completely forgot. And my wife was also she was at the gym. And she beat me home, and I walked into the house, and she goes, "How's your breakfast?" And then the smell hit me in the face. So these eggs,
what happened to the eggs?
These
themselves?
eggs exploded. And when I say they exploded, I mean there was egg shrapnel on every surface in our entire kitchen.
She did not clean up the eggs.
When we did the kitchen remodel last year, we were still finding egg shrapnel all over the kitchen as we were taking apart the kitchen.
Huh.
So not only that, they exploded with such force that the pan jumped off of the stove and landed on the wood floor. And I had like a perfect burn ring in the wood floor in the kitchen. I'm lucky I didn't burn my house down.
Yes.
But to Thrill's credit, he had a great idea. He's like, when you do the kitchen, you should save that burn mark. So I had it cut out of the floor and I have it framed hanging in the new kitchen.
Does it not look like art?
It does look like art.
It looks like an eclipse or something.
Here's a fun story about the time I almost killed my dogs in a house fire.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure your wife is not happy with this idea.
What about
because if you say it was covered in egg splatter, that means she didn't even begin to clean up your mess.
I mean, I was like maybe 2 minutes behind her in the door.
Okay.
Like she was just making sure the house had, and it smelled like eggs, but it also smelled like hot metal. You know that smell? Yeah. It was not good. That was one of my fine ones. I went on vacation one time. I came here actually. I was living in Des Moines, Iowa. Came here to visit my brother, and I left my keys in his apartment, and I didn't realize it until he dropped me off at the airport. Here's what's worse is I had driven to Omaha to get the flight because it was cheaper.
Jesus.
So when I got to Omaha, I couldn't get into my car. I couldn't go anywhere.
And you're in Omaha.
Even if I did get home, I couldn't get inside because my keys were still here in Seattle.
So what'd you end up doing?
Moved to Seattle.
Yeah, so I lived in a parking lot in Omaha until the mail came. No, I'm kidding. I called AAA and I got to take care of it. It was a pain in the ass stuff. Yeah, and of course, my wife, she meets me at the airport and she's like, "You did what?" Right. I guess we'll figure it out when we get there.
Yeah. Always a fun conversation.
Yeah, that's a good one. You did what?
Thanks.
Yeah. So today on Sit and Spin, we're going to talk about huge artists who surprisingly have never had a number one song on the Billboard Hot 100.
But we just assume, I'm assuming when you say the artist's name, we'll just assume they've had more than one number one hit.
They've had tons of hits, but surprisingly, zero number ones.
Isn't it weird that with number one songs, typically you can still tolerate them and they're great, or they just have absolutely annoyed the living hell out of you?
Yeah, I think it depends if you like the band in advance, right? So I'm a Chili Peppers apologist. A lot of people don't like them, fine. But what song do I hate the most from the Chili Peppers? Always have Under the Bridge. And I know it was not a number one song, but it is far and away their biggest song ever.
Yeah.
But if you were not a Chili Peppers fan, you hear it, maybe you like it. So a lot of the number one hits I hear, I'm like, it's not so bad.
I think if you're a fan of a band, their biggest song is typically not, in your opinion, their best.
It's the one you hate.
Like Rush fans aren't walking around like Tom Sawyer, bro. That's the
They
jam.
better play that tonight, man.
Metallica fans aren't walking around like, bro, Enter Sandman.
You know what's coming.
Nothing else matters. That's the jam.
All right.
You have listeners in Master Puppets.
Right.
Come on. So these are 10 artists that have never had a number one hit on Sit and Spin.
Number 10. Quit playing games with my heart.
This is,
I knew Ted was
Hold on. Let's guess the artist.
I know the song. Is this a boy band or solo?
Backstreet Boys? Backstreet Boys?
This is the Backstreet Boys.
This was like the first one. But you're telling me that way never made it to number one?
This was their biggest song ever. Quit playing games with my heart.
Sorry, Ted.
And it was a number 2 hit. Never made it to number
So close.
Never made it to number 1.
Yeah, I would just assume the Backstreet Boys probably had like 4 of them.
At least, right.
Who is the main guy in the Backstreet Boys? They have a popular person that we know now today who's like a...
Is that Timberlake?
Is that Timberlake?
Is that Timberlake?
No, he's
He's in sync.
Damn it.
You had like
It's
AJ.
okay that you don't know that.
Nick Carter.
Nick Carter
Nick
was
Carter?
in there.
Okay. All right.
AJ was the bad boy. He went to rehab.
Well, it was Wahlberg again, not Mark, but
He was a new kid.
They're new kids.
Yeah. Jesus
But they're
Christ,
like
I have no
they're
idea.
different generation.
Okay.
NKOTB.
Yeah.
10 artists that never had a number one hit on Sit and Spin.
Number 9.
Oh, the boss.
So, from the same album, Born in the USA was never number one, I guess?
No.
This album was massive when it
But
came.
you can still have a number one album without having a number one hit, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And
All right.
and you have to consider also this is like the Hot 100. So these are, there aren't going to be like a ton of rock bands that make it on the Hot 100. And if they do, it's not going to be like a gigantic hit. I don't know what pop radio sounded like in the early 80s when this came out, but it probably sounded a bit like this. But surprisingly, Bruce Springsteen had no number ones. His highest chart made it to number 2 once again, and it was this song, Dancing in the Dark.
Okay.
Who beat the boss?
The boss
That's
is
what I
boss.
want to know. When this song went to number 2, what was number 1?
Huh. That's a good question. What came in? 84, 85?
Is this 80 or 84?
84, I
I think
believe.
it's 84.
Because that was a big year. I remember buying this, 1984 from Van Halen.
And Stay Hungry
You know
from
what?
Twisted Sister.
You know what? Jump was, I believe, a number 1. That could have that maybe
Did Jump hit number
I think
1?
Jump
I
was
believe it
number-
did.
It was the first hit they had since their first album.
Damn.
These are 10 artists that never had a number one on Sit and Spin.
Number 8.
Why is she yelling at me?
I don't know. So I feel like did I just walk home?
I know.
It's Demi Lovato.
Oh. All right.
And she only made it to number 6 with the song "Sorry Not Sorry."
She's not even close.
Number 6. She
Get out of here!
Not even a top 5er.
Get out of here!
Let's go back to the drawing board. Keep writing.
Yeah, but that's crap.
10 artists that never had a number 1 hit.
Number 7.
I seriously hate this song.
This is the only hit Pearl Jam ever had.
One of their biggest charting ones.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, like when Alive and Even Flow and all of that stuff was blowing up, it wasn't on the Billboard Hot 100.
They sold 13 million copies of their debut album.
Yeah.
And almost every song on there is a single.
Technically, no hits.
Right.
So,
but no one wants them to have the number 1 song in America.
So this one made it to number 2. Last Kiss.
Oh, it
really?
did?
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
It was a big song. It was a big song. Yeah. Yeah. This is the only hit Pearl Jam ever had.
I remember they played this.
Technical terms.
They played this at the Gorge, and me and Ted were bitching back and forth to each other like, it's even a sad goddamn song. Do you remember this conversation?
Yeah, and I'm almost positive I was at one of the shows where they first played it in Maryland.
Really?
Who's this originally again?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I've totally forgot.
I don't either.
Frank something.
Somebody just like a one-hit wonder. Okay. 10 artists that never had a number 1 hit.
Number 6.
So Green Day, much like Pearl Jam, has had a lot of really big songs. But as far as like big Hot 100 hits, when the album American Idiot came out, this was as close as they got at number 2 with Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
I think with the state of music, it's going to be very difficult for a rock band to have the number 1 song in America.
But they keep getting up to number 2.
Right.
They're close.
Right, you can get to number 2. You just can't get number 1.
These things come in waves. There'll be a point sometime in the future where rock music will be all over the world of popular music.
Sure.
And we'll hate it. Right. And then it'll go away again, and it'll be ours again.
I mean, honestly, Santana and Rob Thomas was smooth. Sure. Maybe that was the last one that was a big one. 10 artists that never had a number 1 hit on Sit and Spin.
Number 5.
So this was a time, you got to think, in the mid-'90s when the Hot 100 was really starting to embrace a lot of like rock bands.
Yeah.
So Metallica, Until It Sleeps, actually made it to number 10. Any guess where Enter Sandman ended up?
No.
Their biggest song of all time?
Number 2.
Supposedly. 16.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. No hits, Metallica. No hits.
They should just give it up.
I don't even know how they're paying their rent.
I don't even. I was going to say, like, boy, oh boy, that sucks for them, right? 10 artists that never had a number 1 hit on Sit and Spin.
Number 4. That's me in the corner.
Yes.
That's me in the spot.
There's a fun fact about R.E.M. I never liked this band.
They have their moments.
There was definitely a time where I really liked R.E.M., and now you can hear I just laugh.
Yeah. Well, this is the biggest hits are never like, again, Shiny Happy People, all this stuff. It's terrible.
It's the end of the world as we know it, right?
But if you go back to Reckoning and Murmur and Life Search Pageant, there's some great albums, but no hits.
This was like a big MTV hit. But it only made it to number 4 on the Hot 100.
10 artists that never had a number 1 hit on Sit and Spin.
Number 3.
Is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's your primitive.
Now I don't.
Missy Elliott never had.
That's not that shocking.
Yeah, I wonder if she was involved in someone else's number 1 though.
She had to have been. She was a great producer.
Yeah. So this was her biggest song, and it made it up to number 2.
So close.
I would still never mess with her.
Missy?
Yeah. There's something about her that says F around and find out.
I will slap you.
Right.
I will slap you.
Well, remember on Punk, she'd try to destroy the jewelry store when they wouldn't give her jewelry back.
These are 10 artists that never had a number 1 hit on Sit and Spin.
Number 2.
You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong to.
But isn't this her only hit, really? Is this LeAnn Rimes?
No, this is Shania Twain.
Oh, my bad.
And, I'm sure you could probably play 5 more Shania Twain songs that we would all recognize, but I can't answer your question if this was...
Well, it doesn't impress me much.
I used to play that song when I first got into radio. It was her Shoop Shoop song from somebody else, and I effing hated
Well, Shoop
it.
Shoop kept her out of number 1, then, probably.
Probably.
Yeah, this was the number 2. You're still the 2.
You're still the Canadian I want.
Yeah. Deuce. Dropped a deuce.
10 artists that never had a number 1 hit. Made it to a loony, but not number 1.
Number 1. And we dance all night to the best song ever.
Is that the Jonas Brothers?
Is it a Jonas Brothers?
No. This is One Direction.
Oh.
So a couple of the guys from One Direction have had a couple of number one hits. Zayn and Harry have both had number ones.
Zayn and Harry.
I got a Harry Zayn.
Exactly. Right? Doesn't that sound like something that happens to you? Right?
No, it sounds like a movie that you go behind a curtain to watch.
So 1D, they got to number 2 with this, the best song ever, which is a lie because it was number 2.
1D featuring Zayn and Harry.
Yeah. Zayn and Harry's 1D.
You bought this? Oh, my God. Thank you, Ryan Castle. We appreciate it. There you go, Sit and Spin. You are listening to Men's Room.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
Oh, drat. I was driving along minding my own business when that vulgar leech hit my Beamer with his pickup truck. I fear I've fractured my clavicle.
I say, old boy, don't simply put it in the hands of your insurance company to sort it out. Talk with the dedicated road solicitors at the Advocates Law Firm.
Pipe down, you old sod. The advocates will see your case through to the bitter end and won't sleep a fortnight until they have victory in their grasp.
Jolly good, old man. Jolly good indeed. You get injured, the advocates get results. AdvocatesLaw.com.
Realtors abide by a code of ethics. This is Article 9 in action. Beth, a first-time homebuyer, knew nothing about the home buying process, except that she wanted to buy a home. But her realtor had the expertise to make sure Beth understood every document, even giving her copies to review with her lawyer so Beth could close on her first home with confidence. Complicated things explained in simple terms. The difference between an agent and a realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
99.9 KISW. The shenanigans continue. This is the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill.
Coming up in minutes, we will drink and we will toast with the shot of the day. And we do have your headlines on the way at 5:50. First, quick check in with Mike Hogg and some of the stories and headlines he is not working on.
All right, the average age of vehicles in America is a record 12.2 years old.
Okay. Trying to think, how old's my car?
My car is 10 at this point.
Yeah, mine's 11.
So does that mean people are keeping them longer, or?
Yes.
All right. Well, it seems like some of them just run longer.
Because keep in mind, this is also the average age. So it's not that everybody's car
older,
is 12, right?
Some are younger.
You got some who are, 20 years old to compete with everybody who's brand new cars out there.
The other thing, too, is like, I'm not going to say specific companies, but some of the cars just seem to hold up better.
Yes.
I mean, just better looking. Forget that the thing runs. They don't look as old.
Yeah.
Right, that's part of it, man. When you get your design style right, you don't look as dated. When they're driving, because those cars are like the Honda Accord, right? It's always been around. Honda's always going to do the Accord, but they update it. And when I was a kid, it was the standard-looking mid-size sedan.
Right.
When I see someone driving one from the time that I was a teenager, I'm like, boy, it did not age well. I mean, it just, it might run great, but it looks stupid.
Yeah.
It really, really does.
Yeah. And then I start looking at brand new cars like, what is that going to look like in 10 years?
Well, see, it kills me when the car companies kind of change their grill or their lights, right?
Right.
Because typically you get like 7 good 8 years out of it where you go like, all right, this is Cadillac, this is Ford, this is whatever. Some do better, like Kia looks respectable now.
It does.
Right? It's a good vehicle.
Yeah, they completely redid their logo and all that, yeah.
And they needed to. And I'm like, Kias look awesome.
Right.
Right? We bought a used Escalade, right? I cannot afford an Escalade. So we bought one used. That was not our goal. It just happened to be there. Like,
nice.
Still the nicest ride we've ever had. In spite of the fact we have bought new cars. This was still nicer than any of them, but ours is 2011, right? Well, Cadillac has definitely upgraded the look.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I look around now, I'm like, well, now it looks like it runs fine.
No, it doesn't. I think it still is. It holds up.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Sorry, man, it holds up. It does.
But yours isn't... There's a generation of those trucks before that you could very much tell.
Right. Oh, yeah, I'm not part of that generation. Right. But I'm still like, oh, yours isn't new. Like, no, it is not new.
And some of the cars, too, when they come out, they look so cool. I'm going to sound ancient, but Pontiac. Remember, they had some weird-looking SUV, and we really hadn't heard of it.
Aztec.
The Aztec, yep.
That can't be the one. That one looked real stupid.
That one was boxy, but there was one before that, because I was a kid, and I remember my dad, we drove down Route 1 to go. He was like, you got to see this thing. And I don't think it lasted more than like a year. It was an ugly car.
Sometimes certain car companies get out of their lane. Like maybe you were really good at making off-road vehicles that a lot of people like to take out there, and then you try your luck at making a truck, and it just looks stupid.
It looks dumb. Yeah, the Pontiac Aztec, in my mind, is the finest example of a vehicle that probably should have never been produced.
Exactly. Well, our friends over at Yahoo.com put out this story. It says some celebrities are awesome to their waitstaff, others not so much. So for that, ladies and gentlemen, what I have for you, if I can move on over here, is
The Men's Room Top 10.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The Men's Room Top 10.
The top 10 good and bad celebrity encounters at restaurants. I met Betty White once. She gave me the cold shoulder.
I thought you said clap. BD. God damn.
Well, at least the production element sounded good.
Jeez, dude.
Have you guys ever met a celebrity that wasn't planned here in the studio?
Yeah. On occasion.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I accidentally ran into Ron Perlman a couple months ago.
Well, that's right. So
in
Ron
an
Perlman?
airport. That's probably the closest.
Did you
I've
talk
been.
to him?
No.
Okay.
I met Paul Sorvino once. Could have been nicer.
Met Brad Pitt.
Oh, no kidding.
He was he was up and coming, and not throw him under the bus. He has amused me since then, but at the time, he's filmed some movie with Winona Ryder. I don't remember the name of the film. They're filming it in Baltimore, but there's one specific section of Baltimore because they're recreating like 18th or 19th century Paris, I believe it was, and Mount Vernon, right? So there's this one area that could pass, whatever. The place I'm working, Sandwich Shop, is right there in the corner, so the crew would come in all the time.
All right.
Rarely did the stars go in. But he was in line, we're getting slammed at lunch, and everyone's just kind of waiting for their food. And my man literally just pulls me to the side. And he wasn't mean or anything, but he says, "Hey, man, how much longer for this sandwich?" And I said, "Bro, I will get to an order. It came in, his order we're making. Right?
Yeah.
We're obviously busy." And he did say "Do you know who I am?" And I looked at him. No, he was young, right? But I looked at him and I said, "Yes." And in spite of that, I will still make your sandwich in the order that it came
I was in a bar a sports bar, not Pickles, but a sports bar close to Camden Yards, and the whole cast of Homicide, the grips, the cameramen, the directors, the producers all came in. Richard Belzner. Andre Brower.
Yeah.
They were all in there and whoever was in charge of all this stuff, it was like, everybody, it's on our tab. So everybody that was in there, there was probably 25 people in there. Mm-hmm. We just had beers, and they bought beers and drinks for probably 30 minutes before they walked over.
Yeah, Danny Glover. He was super nice.
Yeah. Oh, he seems like a nice dude.
Yeah.
So you know what? Let's play a little game. I'm going to tell you who the celebrity is. You guys tell if you think that it was a good or a bad encounter.
Right.
Okay?
Are these restaurants, or are these just people that met celebrities wherever?
These are restaurant waiters sharing their good and bad celebrity encounters.
Okay.
So these are specifically the wait staff. Number 10 being Tiffany Darwish. You know her from singing "I Think We're Alone Now," that cover.
The mall.
Tiffany.
Tiffany,
She's not.
We just don't know her last name.
What was her last name?
Darwish.
I'm like, who the hell is that?
Yeah,
okay, Tiffany.
So I'm assuming this was an Arby's, and she was nice.
I'm gonna say bad.
I'm gonna say bad.
She seems
too.
nice, but I'm gonna say it's bad.
She was rude, demanding, and a terrible tipper.
Yeah, she's Tiffany.
Right.
And she has no right to be in that.
It could have been in her heyday, Miles.
It was a cover. It was a cover, and she did a terrible job, and she played malls.
But that song was massive, and most people that liked it didn't know. I mean, until you mentioned it, I think we're alone now. Like, that's a Tiffany song.
That's it, right?
Right. Number 9, Olivia Wilde. She's with Jason Sudeikis, I think. She did
Harry Styles now.
Oh, that's right, Harry Styles.
She has resting bitch face, which leads me to believe that she was nice.
Okay. I think she's nice to waitresses, mean to Jason Sudeikis.
I'm going to say she has that British politeness.
Olivia Wilde, she did a shoot at my restaurant. We had banter, and it made my week. Such a nice woman.
All right.
Yeah.
Number 8 of the restaurant waiters sharing their celebrity encounters, Ray Fiennes. He played Lord Voldemort in the Harry Potter series.
I would say he was nice.
He was one of the bad guys in Schindler's List.
You'd recognize him if you saw him.
Right.
He's been around forever.
Red Dragon. Nice. Say he was nice. Miles on a guess.
I don't know the guy, but I'll say he's nice.
Can't get him. Okay, Ted.
I don't know. I don't know if I know Lord Voldemort.
What else?
Voldemort.
Yeah. Voldemort.
I'm screwing.
Ray Fiennes.
You got it. It looks like Ralph, but it's like Rafe is how you say his name. So I'm like Red Dragon. If you ever saw that movie, he played the bad guy. Anywho, it's the Silence of the Lambs movie. Come on, Ted.
On my computer, I typed in Ray Finkel came up as a Google search.
The guy that blew the kick in the Niners game?
Right,
For
for
Dolphins
the
game,
Dolphins. Like, why did that come up?
You recognize him, right?
Yeah.
That guy got messed up. Anyway, he was never chatty, but always very polite and well-mannered. He was more friendly with some staff he saw more often.
Okay.
All right.
Well, so is anybody.
He seems like a more quiet and reserved type
He's
of guy.
nicer to people he knows.
Somebody here just says, I served the Undertaker at 13 coins. He wasn't very talkative. He strikes me as a guy who's like, I don't have much to say.
He wasn't very talkative in the
Bill
ring.
Goldberg is a good big guy.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy.
Number 7, Magic Johnson. He was a basketball player, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Named after his own penis.
Magic Johnson's nice.
I'm going to say nice.
Very
Nice
nice.
guy.
Very nice. Yeah.
Says he came into Denny's at 3 a.m. during the 99 Lakers versus Pacers finals. He was nice enough to sign autographs on his way to the closed-off section, which he paid $50 to sit in, but didn't tip beyond that.
So good interaction, but not a good
Not
tip.
the best, right. How about Stephen Baldwin, Haley Bieber's dad?
Oh, terrible.
I'm going to say he was awful.
He's a Baldwin.
Right, he's a Baldwin.
Baldwin, man. Come on.
Ted?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he's famous for kind of being an a-hole to people.
He let kids run all over the bar without any supervision at all. He kept saying loudly, no pictures, which was weird because nobody was asking for one, and nobody even had a camera on them. So, there you go.
No pictures. Cool.
So these are restaurant waiters sharing their good and bad celebrity encounters. How about John Goodman? Did they have a good or bad encounter?
He is a food guy. He's got to be. Yeah,
Had to be good.
He's from
Yeah.
New Orleans.
Come on,
He's
John.
spent time in New Orleans.
Says, I didn't serve him, but the girl who did was in tears because of how nice he was and telling her to follow her dreams.
All right, nice.
John Goodman, good
Yeah,
dude.
he's got to be, dude.
I mean, he's a good man.
Would that have crushed you if you found out like he was the biggest a-hole ever? Like, I
Well,
can't.
Big
it's not
Lebowski
okay.
lives in New Orleans. He lived there for years. That is a food-centric city
but it
of,
doesn't make
of
you
hospitality, but it's the vibe
Right,
of
Southern
New Orleans.
hospitality, sure.
It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
different vibe. It's not going to New York and going to a pretentious restaurant. It's
I feel like he's also an actor that you never quite know when he's going to play. Like, he can play the
Good
sweetest
guy,
old
bad
man.
guy,
right,
tough
and then
guy.
just like one of the most
Monsters, Inc.
sadistic. Right, Monsters Inc. Exactly. Like, he's all over the
Oh,
spectrum.
brother,
of
where
acting.
art thou?
Right.
I had the opposite end of the
Did not play a good guy.
No.
What was that? Cloverfield in the
Oh, God, yeah.
sequel that they did to that one.
another good one is Raising Arizona.
I still haven't seen that one.
Oh, you got to watch
Nick
that.
Cage, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's also the Babe.
Oh, exactly. He
that's
did.
right.
Babe Ruth.
Yeah. How about number 4, Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn? What about that
I'm
couple?
going to say they were cool.
Very much so. They've been together forever.
Ted,
Yeah, for some reason I feel like they'd be nice.
you think? They were so nice, so polite, and so down to earth. They even came into the kitchen to say hi and to say thank you to everyone working. Nice of them to just assume that they can walk in the back of
I
an
was going to
active
say, I
kitchen.
haven't worked in the kitchen. Like, that's great. Get out of my kitchen. I appreciate it. Do not walk into
Get
my
off
kitchen.
my line.
Yeah.
So maybe they said, hey, the cooks want to meet you.
They may have said that.
yeah, fair
Actually,
enough.
someone else I met was Gene Hackman.
Oh, nice.
So he came into the restaurant with his, I don't know if it's his wife or his girlfriend at the time, whatever. But the only thing we learned, he handed his credit card as soon as he came in. So I'm going to do what I do, whatever. Ring it up at the end. We know he's good for it. But the only conversation we had, the waiter came running back. We're like, his middle name's Alan. Only because it was on his credit card. Like, Gene, I would have never known.
Late Bill Paxton's a good guy.
Oh, I believe
yeah.
it, too. He seems
Yeah,
like a
I
sweet dude.
Yeah, did a screening with that.
Damn.
The Titanic.
Good and bad celebrity encounters according to restaurant wait staff. I don't even know why I'm asking. Barbara Streisand.
I've had an experience with her. It's horrible.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was working at Commander's Palace in New Orleans, and we knew she was there. I did not care. She means nothing to me. I understand she's an icon, but whatever. But she kept sending crap back. Everything was an issue. And I'm like, the issues she says she has are physically impossible. She's doing this because she's a bitch.
Also, John Travolta went into the place he was working at, Little Italy, and said no garlic. In an Italian restaurant.
Come on.
Your name is Travolta. Your name is John frickin' Travolta. Like, how do you expect anything not to have garlic in it?
Says that she didn't make any eye contact, but she wasn't fussy. That means that you had the good encounter.
Right. For her, that's probably a good one.
Right. She just didn't make a fuss.
The wait staff hated her. They couldn't say anything. All of us in the kitchen hated her. I was just like, Jesus, man.
How about my boy Bryan Cranston?
I would say he was awesome.
Yeah, I think he's probably very cool.
Ted
He
Smith?
seems to come off pretty nice with people.
I feel like I hear a lot of great stories about him. It says he just plunked down right next to us to eat and was such a dad. He says he ordered custom merch for all the staff as mementos and gave it out at the end of the show.
That's
It's like
cool.
it's like Nick Offerman. You just expect him to just like blend in, right?
You are everybody that you play. And then this is the final one. This is is it a good or a bad celebrity encounter as according to restaurant waitstaff? Again, I feel like it's obvious. Keanu Reeves.
Of course. He's good.
One of the most notorious, sweetest men on the planet. Says he spent plenty of time taking photos with people. He always tipped about 30 to 50% on expensive tips.
Somebody here says Jamie Foxx is an effing dude tipped 3 cents after going all out for him that night.
Jamie Foxx?
I'm not surprised. He seems like he'd be a douchebag.
Damn, I wanted him to be a nice guy.
I know someone that knows him, and in the capacity that they work together, he does good things. That's for a bigger cause. Mm-hmm. But I feel that as an individual, he's a bit of a douchebag.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
You know
I like almost everything he's in. I like a lot about him. I don't think I'd want to hang out with him personally.
I know people in Seattle who've rented private rooms and canceled for 15 people. Half an hour every week before they were expected to show up.
I see.
Show up whenever, but then end up someplace else in a different restaurant.
Right.
Yes. A man in England caused a 2-hour backup at a McDonald's, and you will never believe why.
Why?
Tell you all about it at 5:50.
Thank you, Mike. Headlines are coming up at 5:50. In the meantime, let's get a contestant on the line for Profile This at 206-421-ROCK.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
Realtors abide by a code of ethics. This is Article 9 in action. Beth, a first-time homebuyer, knew nothing about the home buying process, except that she wanted to buy a home. But her realtor had the expertise to make sure Beth understood every document, even giving her copies to review with her lawyer so Beth could close on her first home with confidence. Complicated things explained in simple terms. The difference between an agent and a realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
$20 million, $19 million, $6 million. These are all awards recovered for clients of Phillips Law Firm. To win big, you have to fight big. And Phillips Law has been fighting the too big to fail insurance industry for decades. Not every case will have a multi-million-dollar outcome, but Phillips Law will fight just as hard to recover the outcome you deserve. If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or on the job, call or click today at 1-800-JUSTICE or visit justiceforyou.com.